SaveWithConrad.com.
I'm Andy Cleveland from Appleton, Wisconsin. Longtime listener of the podcast. I listen to Something to Wrestle With, hearing all of the ads and things. We're at a spot where we wanted to refinance, and I know that's something that Conrad talks quite a bit about. We figured we'd give it a shot. I had a series of surgeries that were in a 15-month window, and it put us quite a bit with credit card debt. We had a lot of equity, over the years that built up in the house, so we wanted to take the equity out of the house and to pay off all those high interest credit card debts and get things back down to a manageable level per month. We worked with Larry and then Francis. It was awesome. Talking with Larry, everything was very helpful. Emails were fantastic, telling us what we needed to do. Francis was there to kind of nudge us along if we were dragging our feet a little bit. There's different forms and paperwork and things that you have to fill out. And anytime that we had a question, we would contact Frances by email, and she was just amazing. She helped us out, got those questions answered for us. You deal with other places they call, and you just feel like all they want to do is they just want to get the money, kind of take a piece of you. Working with Larry and Frances, it really felt they were helping us the whole way. They were very clear on what our intentions were and what we wanted, and they helped us meet our goals. So by doing this, much lower interest rate, everything is paid off, and now everything is so much more comfortable month to month. I'm Andy Cleveland from Appleton, Wisconsin, and I saved over $1,000 a month with SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.
SaveWithConrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Grilling JR with the voice of professional wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, how are you, man?
Conrad, would you like to hear the Oklahoma fight song one more time this morning?
Oh, please, would we? Can we? How can we do that? I hope that I see the Nike logo there. I'm hoping that you're wearing, oh, yeah, there it is, an OU shirt. Attaboy, come on now.
Yeah, I'm sticking it right up your fat ass.
I'm happy about it.
It's like a prison movie.
Yeah, whether you're ready or not, here it comes. JR and Oklahoma stomped an absolute mud hole in my Crimson Tide this past weekend, 24-3.
How'd that happen?
Man, they had
you guys are not that bad.
Well, I don't know. You guys had Milrose scouted. You completely shut down our most versatile player, and 3 interceptions, 11 for 26, no rushing yards. Oklahoma beat Alabama with only 68 passing yards. Wow. It was just absolute domination, man. There's no run game. Oklahoma had Alabama well scouted and went from a 5-5 team to a 6-5 team, beating Alabama. It was a big day for your Sooners. Congratulations.
Yeah. And we're bowl eligible.
How about that?
Yeah, that's a nice thing. Depending on what bowl it is, I like going to those bowl games, man. Hang around the hotel, the team hotel, the day before the game, having drinks with all my buddies.
I love it.
That black hat just draws them like a magnet, and I love that. I mark out. I'm just a total mark out. So, but I was shocked. I was in Newark doing the pay-per-view, so I was trying to keep up with the scores on my phone before I went out to do my 2 matches. But I have to admit that during the 2 matches, there were a couple of occasions that I looked on my phone to see the score, and I couldn't believe it. I kept waiting for Alabama to come back, thinking that this is too good to be true. But that's football, man. And a lot of guys listening here today got football teams still in the hunt. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Texas A&M, that's going to be good. A lot of good pro games. So I'm taking my housekeeper to a lunch on Thanksgiving afternoon at a seafood joint, and they come back home and settle in for football for the rest of the weekend. I told you before we went on the air, one of my weaknesses is watching the Texas A&M game. That used to be so amazing on Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving. it was a double header, Conrad, back in those days. The day after Thanksgiving was Oklahoma versus Nebraska and Texas versus Texas A&M. Pretty good shit, man. For a football nerd like me and you, that's heaven. And it didn't interfere, make anybody mad because we were late for Thanksgiving because we were at home watching football. It's just the day after. So it's good stuff, man. It's a good time of the year. I'm enjoying it, and I love this time of the year. So once I fulfill my obligation to take my housekeeper to lunch, which will be good food, then I'm going to settle in for football for the next 3 days.
Man, ain't nothing wrong with that. I hope everybody's having a great Thanksgiving today. Of course, Jim and I are recording in advance of Thanksgiving, but we hope you're having a happy Turkey Day. Jim, if you had to make your go-to Thanksgiving plate with 5 things on it, so your 5 Thanksgiving favorites, what might they be?
I can do that real easy.
Okay.
Yeah, you threw me a layup, brother. Brother. Why do everybody in wrestling call each other brother?
That's a good question.
It was that way when I got into the business in '74.
Wow.
And I thought I was so naive, 22 years old. I was so naive, hadn't been away from home, none of that stuff. I thought some of these guys were actually brothers. I didn't know it was just a slang. But in any event, back to your original question, I like dark meat turkey.
1.
I like cornbread dressing or stuffing,
2.
as some people say. I like mashed potatoes.
3.
And turkey gravy.
Not going to count that.
All right. And so I like mashed potatoes with turkey gravy.
There you go.
I like green beans.
Come on now.
Yeah. And there's one more, right?
There's one more.
Yeah. I like, I should have said green bean casserole.
We'll take it. I'll allow it.
Take that, will you? And pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie.
It's a pretty solid plate, man. And
look at me, Conrad. I'm a fat fucker.
Oh, no, you're not. We were talking before we clicked record. You're back to fighting weight. You may refer to it as something else, but I think you told me before we clicked record, you're back at your high school senior weight. Is that right?
Yeah. Is that ridiculous?
That's amazing. Good for you, dude.
It's crazy. And it wasn't done on purpose. On that to help to control my I'll get it right here. Just bear with me. To control my type 2 diabetes, I'm taking these shots once a day. I don't know what it's called. One of those brands you see advertised on TV. But my doctor prescribed it to me several weeks ago before the craze hit the media. And so I know that that's helping me. Because once I started taking these injectables, what the fuck is that stuff called?
Ozempic?
Yeah, that kind of deal. Ozempic type thing.
Monjuro?
It may be Ozempic, to be honest with you. I started seeing a sudden weight loss. At one point, I went down to 195.
Wow.
And I hadn't weighed 195 since I was a little fat junior in high school playing football. So, anyway, it's better for my health. And my home care nurse just left this morning. And all my vitals are perfect. I'm in good stead, ready to rock and roll. Hey, Conrad, did you watch the pay-per-view Saturday night at all?
I did. I watched the Alabama game live, but I recorded the pay-per-view and caught up on Sunday morning. Man, it was just wall-to-wall, incredible matches, one after another.
It was.
I don't think I've seen a spot on the stairs like we saw with Will Ospreay and Mr. Fletcher. My goodness, what an incredible performance that was.
Scary, Connie. It was scary. I'd rather err on the. I'll go back to my talent relations days. The worst thing that could happen is a main event type player getting injured on a show that would require him or her to miss time. It not only adds to your medical bills on your budget, which is neither here nor there. That's not the biggest deal, but it takes somebody away from your booking. can't use them anymore till they're healthy. So that's been a little bit of an issue. But I thought that scared the shit out of me, boy. It really did. That spot scared the hell out of me. I thought, there's no way both these dudes are going to walk away from this. Okay. But they did. I guess that's the thing about youth, Connie, that you and I can't really relate to. These guys are young and resilient.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yep. It was an incredible show. Of course, we saw you in there calling the last two matches. We saw Bobby Lashley make his AEW debut, and he picked up a win over Swerve Strickland. Swerve, sort of like Stone Cold at WrestleMania 13, passes out from the pain, from the hurt lock, the full Nelson finishing maneuver of Bobby Lashley. Quite the impressive debut from Mr. Lashley. What do you expect from him in AEW, Jim?
The next level. And I told him so to his face. I hired Bobby. Bobby's one of my guys. And I told him, I said, now it's the next step. This was good, but not good enough. And I think he agreed with that. He wants to have some outstanding in-ring matches. I think that's great. He's an athlete. He's a natural athlete, so he's competitive. And that's one of the advantages that the guys that were in my role back in the day always look for. They said, well, JR's like, he's crazy about these jocks. Yeah, there's a reason why. Number one, they're resilient. They don't get, when they get banged up or dinged up, they go play the game. And secondly, they're competitive. Nobody wants to have the worst match on the show. Everybody wants to have the best match on the show. If they don't, then they're, I don't know, they should go. Everybody should want to have the best match. But that was a good contest. And those guys, I was sitting there at ringside, as you alluded to, Connie, and they were physical. I mean, a lot of guys wouldn't wrestle that stiff. That's their, and Swerve's always been that way. He's a physical son of a bitch, and I love him for it.
The main event, man, was something else too. We saw Jon Moxley and Orange Cassidy. Jon Moxley is victorious with the assist from Wheeler Yuta. Yeah. But what everybody's talking about is the post match. It looked like Wheeler Yuta secured the, I don't know, some sort of sanitation liquid, some sort of sanitizer that they use on the ropes and the canvas between matches. They poured that on Orange, and maybe it got in his cut, and I think some got in his mouth, and he's gasping. And next thing you know, here comes Hangman Adam Page, a heel, to make the save. And then here comes Christian Cage, and he's teasing a cash-in for his sort of Money in the Bank style contract. And then here comes Jay White, and it spills outside, and we see Darby Allin crash into Jon Moxley's truck, a real live car crash on the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
This was a main event spectacle like nothing I've ever seen in wrestling before, Jim.
I was impressed with the car crashing because that's not AEW or any other wrestling company's forte. It's a wrestling company. But they shot that and did a good job of it, I thought. And there was a novel concept. Moxley retaining by the skin of his teeth, cheating to win, as a typical heel would do. All of the players got a cameo, which is good. And again, I'll sing the praises of Marina Shafir. She just adds a different element. I have never on this show explained it as I should, because I'm not sure how to explain it, Connie. She's just that element, that one ingredient to the stew that makes it perfect. So I think she's been a huge addition to the process. And then you forget about the muscle and the manpower that Moxley has. He's got some studs on his side.
No doubt.
He really does. He's got some studs on his side. And that's by his picking. That's by his selection. So I'm a big fan of Moxley and his brain. And he's a physical bastard. So it was a good show. I thought from start to finish, that pay-per-view in Newark had great wrestling.
Yes.
had great wrestling. I enjoyed working with Excalibur, and who else did I work with? Nigel?
That's right. I think
Yeah.
Tony Schiavone was there too.
Oh, yeah, he's just sitting to my left. Absolutely. Tony's one of the hardest working guys in the entire company. Let me tell you.
He's got to be one of the MVPs of AEW. And I know the CEO, wink, wink, if you will, of AEW, the former Sasha Banks, now Mercedes Moné. I think she probably had her best match yet in AEW against Chris Statlander. What did you think of that one, Jim?
Without a doubt, best match that Mercedes Moné has had, in my opinion, and Conrad's opinion, since coming to AEW. I've been waiting on that match.
Yeah.
I've been waiting on that match because I said this before. I tried to say it politely, and I know some people took it the wrong way because I've seen online, JR's dissing Mercedes.
No.
All I was ever saying was, we haven't seen the best of her yet, meaning that there's a significant upside for this young lady who has a great look and a great presence. And then all of a sudden, on Saturday night, we saw the best of Mercedes Moné. It was very impressive.
It was an incredible performance. And if you're looking for an incredible performance from yourself, look no further than Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs. And then it gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep, and even your stress management. Now, all you got to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know exactly what's going on with your metabolism, meaning whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. And from there, Lumen will give you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into your Lumen before and after workouts and even your meals, so you know what's going on in your body in real time. Think of your metabolism as like your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into the fuel that keeps you going. And your metabolism is at the center of everything you do. So when you get your metabolism running right, man, it's going to help you have easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, better focus. Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health with each breath. So if you're ready to stay on track with your health this holiday season, go right now to lumen.me/grillingjr to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/grillingjr for 15% off your purchase. Lumen makes a great gift too. And we thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring today's episode.
We certainly do. And of course, Conrad, Lumen will tell you where your body is.
Yes, sir.
It'll give you all the vital information that you need to know that we all continue to guess on.
Yes.
So if you're of the mindset, it's a hell of a deal. So check out Lumen, 15% off your first order, prescription, whatever, and use that Grilling JR code, and it will get you some savings. I'm stuttering this morning.
No, all good, man. It's lumen.me/grillingjr. Of course, we just heard recently that we've got the Continental Classic making a comeback. And I know people had an absolute blast with this. We saw a bunch of incredible matches last year with the Continental Classic. These brackets are something else. When you take a look at the Gold League, you see Darby Allin, Claudio Castagnoli, Will Ospreay, Ricochet, Brody King, and Juice Robinson. When you take a look at the Gold League, Jim, is there a favorite in your mind as you take a look at that lineup?
I see a bunch of hungry guys. I'm a big man specialist. I think athletic big men over the course of time have proven to draw the most money. With that said, Brody King stands out, but I got to go with my little buddy Darby Allin as the dark horse winner of this thing. He's so resilient, and he's just he's a homegrown guy, which I think is cool as hell. So I'm going to go with Darby and Brody King. Brody King, because he's the biggest dog in this fight. Hey, it could be Will Ospreay, or I could see Ospreay's former tag team partner interfering in that and costing Ospreay a win. I don't know. Just saying. So we'll see. Juice Robinson needs a win, but I don't think he'll get it here, but he might. So I'm going to hang my black hat on Brody King and Darby Allin, Conrad.
I'm going to pick Ricochet, and my backup on this side, if we're saying it'll be this guy or that guy, is going to be Will Ospreay. And on the other side of the brackets for the Continental Classic, we see Okada, Kyle Fletcher, fresh off his win over Will Ospreay, Daniel Garcia, the new TNT champion, Mark Briscoe, the former Ring of Honor champion, Shelton Benjamin, who's going to do big things with the Hurt Syndicate, and one of my favorites, the Beast Mortos, maybe one of the more unsung heroes of AEW. Who stands out here in the Blue League, Jim? Who do you got on this side?
To me, it'd be easy. Okada would be my first choice. And because I've seen him at his best, and it's spectacular. Okada at his best is as good, if not better, than anybody in AEW. And then building on the momentum that he created with that Ospreay win, I got to think Kyle Fletcher is another viable option. But it could be somebody like Daniel Garcia, who's been getting some love here lately. But I think Okada and Fletcher are my two picks.
I agree with you on Kyle Fletcher. I would love to see a rematch of Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. It could be something special. So no matter what we're going to see, we know it's going to be a series of great matches. You're going to have the Blue League against each other. Then you're going to have the Gold League against each other. And then it's all going to come down to one big match. And the Continental Classic, man, that's what AEW does really, really well. Great matches. And if you'd like to see some of those matches in person, tickets are on sale now at AEWTIX.com. And Jim, I'm proud to say I saw on the newly released schedule, AEW is coming back to Huntsville. You guys are going to be doing a Dynamite and a Collision. It's a double taping, and it's happening on Wednesday, January 29th. And believe it or not, 2 days later, right here in Huntsville, is when we're doing Top Guy Rumble. Let's take a look, Jim.
Dreams become a reality for ad-free shows Top Guy members this January, as Top Guy Rumble heads to the famous Von Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Wrestling fans have witnessed so many memorable moments at the Von Braun Center, from Monday Night Raw, WCW Nitro, AEW Dynamite, and even the historical first big TNA show that launched the company. And this January, Top Guys will get to make history of their own as they step inside the ropes and learn what it feels like to be a wrestling superstar at Wrestling Fantasy Camp. And leading the class will be former WWE superstar Al Snow. Find out if you're tough enough to run the ropes with a man who helped train many future stars, including the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. And then it's time to put your booking hat on, as you'll get to help book and take part in our own private wrestling show, Top Guy Tussle. That's right, you have a chance to become a manager, ring announcer, timekeeper, referee, or even make a surprise run-in. And then kick back and watch the wrestling show that you helped book unfold. If that wasn't fun enough, on Saturday, February 1st, Top Guys will come together to watch the 2025 Royal Rumble, featuring the game event with Efren, for a chance to win some unbelievable prizes. Just last year, Top Guy David McClay took home $1,000 in cold hard cash. It is a weekend that a wrestling fan dreams about, and it becomes a reality this January for ad-free shows Top Guy members. Become a Top Guy member and be a part of Top Guy Rumble 2025.
And believe it or not,
if somebody would slip me a plane ticket, I could probably attend all those events.
oh, I love the sound of that. How about that, boys and girls? Come hang out with your favorite wrestling uncle, Uncle Jim. He's going to be there, the voice of pro wrestling. And you too can still be a part of the Top Guy Rumble by becoming an annual Top Guy member now. Make the jump to become an annual Top Guy now, and you'll get 2 months free with our Black Friday promotion. Come on, what are you waiting for? Sign up right now at adfreeshows.com. Jim, what an experience that'll be. Fans will get to see Dynamite and then Collision. We got some fun little off-site hijinks planned for Thursday. We get to book a fantasy wrestling card with real talent, run a real wrestling show that you get to be a part of. And then the next day, hear some incredible stories, watch the Royal Rumble together. And Jim, I can't believe this is real, but we've got our biggest prize yet. I don't think we've announced it yet, but we're going to be giving away something special at that event. This is like the best value in wrestling, I think, Jim.
Oh, without a doubt. My God, this is a wrestling fan's dream.
Yeah.
how could you miss this if you had the opportunity to be there? How could you miss this? It's too good to be true. I can tell you this: if I was not in the business and just a fan as I have been all my life, my fat ass would be there.
Absolutely.
It's too much stuff, man. It's too many good things. And the other thing about this is that we get to meet a lot of real cool people,
Yes.
good fans. They got great questions. They got great feedback. I just love it. So I'm going to do my best, Conrad, to join you that weekend. Maybe we get your mama to make some cornbread dressing.
Done deal. Done deal. We will make it happen. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. Find out how to join us right now at adfreeshows.com. Something that we talked about last week happened at Full Gear. It was on the pre-show. It was on 0 Hour. QT Marshall went heads up with Big Boom AJ, one half of the Costco guys. Man, they got so much traction. It was a 60-second pre-tape that aired last week on Dynamite, and on Twitter alone, it had more than 11 million impressions. Wow. They did a nationwide publicity tour, the Costco guys and Tony Khan. There was a lot of attention on this, and I thought AJ did a phenomenal job for someone who hasn't wrestled in a long time.
Yeah.
And only after the show did we find out he broke his foot in 2 places prior to the show, but he still did it. I mean, a guy who doesn't wrestle full time, wrestling on a big stage like this, with a freshly broken foot in 2 places, you got to give your hats off to this guy, man. What a showing that was.
It was a great thing for his sons.
Yes.
They saw dad sacrifice pain and continue on. And I thought he and QT did a good job. I hope if you hadn't seen it, folks, you can check it out on YouTube or something. But it was a good outing for him, and he didn't embarrass the company, for God's sakes. It was entertaining. I liked it.
I thought it was fantastic, and I'm sure you jumped at the chance to go get a photo with the Rizzler. How much fun did you and the Rizzler have chopping it up backstage, Jim? I know you guys hit it off.
Well, we didn't quite get around to it. I'm busy before the show, Conrad. Hell, I got to pee and all kinds of
Love you, Jim.
So I missed my appointment with the Rizzler, but he seemed like a nice little fat kid. I could identify with him. I was the same way when I was his age, probably.
Do you have a Rizzler impression? I mean, can you hit us with one of the lines? Or
I don't know what all that means. See, I'm afraid to do those hand signals because it might mean go fuck yourself.
Well, there's always that.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I just know that, man, it is over like Rover. Fans couldn't get enough. I don't know if you saw this, Jim, but someone tried to recreate in figure form the Rizzler's debut with the Big Show coming down the ramp. And I don't know if you saw this, but they actually, I believe, mashed together a Hornswoggle figure and a Jim Ross figure to create the Rizzler. Did you see that?
No, I did not. How did it denigrate me this time?
Well, I don't think it denigrated you. I just know that
fans.
No, I don't think it was denigrating at all. I've seen a lot of. I mean, I've seen fans make custom Conrad Thompson action figures. Who wanted that? With old Akeem the African Dream figures. Wow. I think if anything, it's a compliment. I'm not upset about that at all, and I don't think you should be either. Because if AEW makes a Rizzler figure, man, that's going to fly off the shelves.
I don't doubt it. Hey, its popularity has shocked me.
Yeah,
that whole entourage popularity has shocked me, and it's measurable. It's measurable about how many hits on YouTube or online or whatever it may be. So it's all measurable. It's not hearsay. Well, those guys got over. What do you mean they got over? What are you basing that on? So anyhow, it was fun. Good way to start the show. Little ha-ha, as Pat Patterson would say.
Yeah. Something for everybody. AEW is fun for the whole family. Go make plans to join them now when they come to your city. AEWTIX.com. Jim, I don't know if you saw, but last week they did sort of a pre-sale for the VIP side of things for All In Texas. Yeah. It's going to be here before you know it. It's no longer a London opportunity. It's going to be in Arlington, just on the outside of Dallas, right where the Rangers play. We saw Jeff Jarrett do a kickoff party last week. It seems like there's a lot of enthusiasm. What do you expect at All In Texas this year, Jim?
Well, I hope we have 30 or 40,000 people.
Heck yeah.
You know, that's what I hope. Hey, look, it's the biggest event of the year. And Tony Khan, knowing that, will pull out all the stops. There'll be a few surprises, as always, as far as talent is concerned. The card will be loaded. I think a lot of the rivalries that have been ongoing will culminate in Arlington. It's a great ballpark, and the weather should be excellent. Normally it might be hot, but the weather should be excellent. I just think it's going to be a great counter option for all the wrestling fans. Nobody's going to fly to the UK. Hopefully, UK fans will fly out here and see us and enjoy. That complex is pretty cool. Is that complex where Six Flags is?
I don't think it's right there, but I don't think it's terribly far. I know that they've got a series of really cool things lined up. I've been privy to some internal conversations. AEW is going to pull out all the stops, and it is going to be a cause for celebration. And just in time for Thanksgiving, I managed to prepare for some celebrations at my house with Z-Biotics. Let's face it, after a night out with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found out about pre-alcohol. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was actually invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. And I really did stock up on this just in time for Thanksgiving, Jim. Check me out. I got Z-Biotics locked and loaded. I'm ready to go. And I kept hearing about alcohol, pre-alcohol, and I wondered what it was actually like. So I tried it a few years ago with Eric Bischoff. We were at a podcast conference in Denver. We had to be up early in the morning and on stage, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 8 in the morning. But we were going to have a few drinks to celebrate a long day of successful pitches with ad agencies. And before we started drinking, my man Eric Bischoff reached in his briefcase and he pulled out one of these little bottles and said, "Hey, we got to try this." We were home run superstars the next morning. We felt great. It was like we hadn't drank anything at all. I want you right now to go to zbiotics.com/JR to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use our code JR at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/JR and use the code JR at checkout for 15% off.
Yeah, no reason to be cranky all day after drinking.
That's right.
Get it out of your system. Wake up feeling refreshed. And that's challenging to do when you get, no matter your age.
That's right.
Not sure, no matter your age. So Z-Biotics is the way to go on that deal. It's just so smart. And, you drink it. What's it take you? 10, 15 seconds?
Oh, nothing, man. It's like doing a shot, and it is the most important shot that you're going to do. Go right now, zbiotics.com/JR. And Jim, we're going to be throwing the keys to the show today to our listeners, and we're going to be fielding some questions from all over the globe. And we'll start with Minimax.
Love it.
Minimax writes us and says, with so many moments of support and love from the fans during your time in WWE, was it ever discussed creatively to potentially use you in a capacity beyond play-by-play, meaning like an on-air authority figure? Was anything like that ever discussed, Jim, to have you be a participant in the show beyond being a commentator?
Very casually. I think if I was in WWE during the Triple H reign, which is ongoing, something probably could have been worked out, but nothing official. I would certainly been open to it.
Charlie McClanahan has a fun question. He says, Mr. Ross, what's the most scared you've been at something that's happened traveling between towns? Of course, I've talked to a lot of people through the years, Jim, and they tell me that, performing's no problem. It's the traveling that really wears you down, and it can put you in some pretty precarious situations. Do you have one of those touch and go traveling stories you'd like to share with us?
I don't have anything significant, Conrad. I've been in so many airplanes that has lost altitude, had rough landings where the wings are going like this. I've had many of those, but no damage is ever done. Back in the day, traveling by car, there was a few of those close calls, just simply by shooting the shit and enjoying the company of my passengers and not paying attention to the road. I heard that this morning on the news about one of the biggest causes of accidents and during Thanksgiving was people not paying attention to what they're doing while they're driving. And so that's something I would suggest to everybody: go a little slower and pay attention. So I've been lucky. I didn't have those bad car wrecks like a lot of the guys did, but I did most of my own driving. And so then I could control the speed and recklessness or the lack thereof, and just move on to the next spot.
Jay Jackson is with us here, and he's got a question. He says, I've been a fan since the Crockett days. My question for you is, how amazing was it as a relatively new commentator to call the first War Games back in 1987? It's one of my favorite wrestling memories. Jim, you've been a part of so many legendary calls, but that first War Games, did that feel special when it was happening? Did you know that this was going to be a big deal forever and ever?
It felt good. It felt really good, quite frankly. And anytime, I've always been a big proponent of what's new in wrestling and new faces, surprises, all good. Even if the match sucks, if it's new and different, you don't have a total loss. So it was just a big thing, wasn't that in the Omni? I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. And
That
you
was
had
our-
5-on-5. And I think that was actually JJ Dillon's last match. He took that Road Warrior finish, and I
Yeah,
think he blew out his shoulder. And that was
yeah,
all she wrote for JJ in ring.
that's right. Well, it was time, but JJ was a good soldier, no doubt about that. The Omni was our Madison Square Garden at that time, so it was the biggest venue in the territory. So that made it special. And then the card was dotted with Hall of Famers. I can't remember a match I called where so many Hall of Famers were involved in it, and it was it was special, no doubt, because I never called one, and we never had one, so it's all new, and I'm a big fan of new.
I want to, we mentioned JJ Dillon there. I want to remind everybody that you and JJ are both going to be at WrestleCade this weekend. It's this Saturday, and it is one of the go-to events, one of the must-attend events if you're a hardcore wrestling fan. And man, this thing is so stocked with legends, they're completely sold out. Tony Schiavone was shut out from attending WrestleCade. They just didn't have room for him. That's how many legends are going to be there,
Wow.
including good old JR, this Saturday, November 30th, from 10 in the morning until 1:30.
Yeah.
So be there early. Come see the greatest to ever do it behind the microphone, and you can get all your information and maybe pre-order and get your tickets and all that you need at WrestleCade.com. Winston-Salem, here we come. You have a blast at that every time, don't you, Jim?
I sure do. I like those fan conventions, and this is one of the most outstanding fan conventions on the circuit. I look forward to being there and going there and seeing people again. And that one of the great things for guys like me at my late age is that I get to reconnect with a lot of people, and I look forward to that. People you hadn't seen, how the kids, how's the family? Did your boy graduate from high school? or I got a son in college now, JR, that kind of thing. I love that. I love that. So WrestleCade is this Saturday. I'm doing extended duties from 10 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon. And so if you guys will drop by and say hi and get a photo taken and something signed, whatever you want to do. You know, I did an appearance, that appearance I did last week, or week before last, up in, where was that at, Conrad? In Newark?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I
Well,
think you were doing the big event up there, right?
yeah, with Lawler.
Oh,
It
how was that?
That was awesome. We had the longest line there.
I love that, man.
Yeah, so it's good. I had a lot of fun. I saw a lot of people I hadn't seen in a long time. It was just really good. Guys, obscure guys like Harvey Whippleman,
Oh yeah,
Brook-
guys you hadn't seen in a while.
Brooklyn Brawler, those from every level, from preliminaries to main events. It just was terrific. I loved it. So I look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday. Hope you'll come by and say hi, and we'll talk about what you had for Thanksgiving.
I really want to encourage everybody to go see JJ Dillon too. I had a chance to catch up with his lovely daughter at Kevin Sullivan's celebration of life, if you will. And, you know, JJ's getting up there in age and maybe his memory's not as sharp as it once was. And his lovely daughter has been giving him things to look forward to. And the thing that he's had circled and he's been looking forward to is WrestleCade. Not to be negative, but JR always says, hey, we don't know how many more of these we'll get to do together. Go out of your way to see JJ and see JR and some of your favorites. If you've been saying, hey, one day, hey, someday, make that this Saturday at WrestleCade. WrestleCade has all your information at WrestleCade.com. Man, JJ is one of the unsung heroes of those Crockett days, wasn't he?
Without a doubt. He kept Dusty straight.
There you go.
JJ's booking book was immaculate. He could actually spell. Dusty just put words down that sounded like what it was supposed to be. But JJ was a meticulous bookkeeper, and kind of like that your series with David Crockett with a booking book. JJ had one just like it, and I guarantee you'd be challenged to find incorrect spelling. He was meticulous.
Excellent penmanship. We're talking about it each and every month over at Ad Free Shows. We break down the book with David Crockett. So if you can't get enough of that Crockett era stuff, yet another reason to check out AFS. Hey, Drew Landry has a great question, Jim, and it's something that we've never really talked about. Why was Vince so dead set on Shawn beating Bret at Survivor Series in 1997? Undertaker was not on the card for that show. Why not just make it a three-way match between Bret, Shawn, and Taker? That way, Bret could lose the title without getting pinned. Was that ever an option that was discussed? And by the way, as a reminder, Jim, this is a great point. Even if The Undertaker had been the guy to beat Bret Hart for the title, Undertaker and Shawn were still going to hook up at Royal Rumble. So even if Undertaker leaves Survivor Series with the title, they could have fixed it at Royal Rumble. Do you remember that even being discussed? Why or why not?
I don't think so. I don't think it was discussed. Vince was hell-bent on Shawn Michaels winning the title. That was kind of an inside job. Michaels had lobbied for it. Michaels had ingratiated himself with Vince. And believe it or not, Vince identified with HBK. Vince saw himself as an extension of Shawn Michaels. Cocky, arrogant, all that good stuff. So, but he was hell bent on, we're going to do this. And so we did it. But it got too political. It wasn't a good time to be working there because you had a lot of hurt feelings and a lot of bullshit going on that shouldn't have been going on. Look, I don't have an issue with Shawn Michaels beating Bret. That's not the issue. But man, I would have thought about how to present it differently so it didn't alienate half the locker room.
Right.
Because you got to remember that Bret was one of the most popular guys in the entire locker room.
No doubt.
Everybody respected him and loved him, so like they do now. And it was just going to be a touchy issue. It was, and we got through it as best we could, but not without a few bumps and bruises.
Matt S has a question I've never even thought of, Jim, and I bet you probably haven't either. He says, as AI continues to evolve, it's entirely possible that AI JR could continue calling matches for many decades to come. How would Jim Ross feel about this?
Well, first of all, Connie, I don't know what the fuck AI is. I know it's out there. I've heard of this, people talk about it, but I'm just being very upfront and frank with these folks here on Girl and JR, because that's how I work. So I'm not the best person to explain my potential in AI. To the second part of the question, that would be really cool for my grandkids or their kids to see Grandpa doing his thing. So if I got paid for it, I'm happy to do it.
You know, that might ought to be something you should hit Dawkins up for real about and come up with some sort of plan for what your wishes would be on that. So, you know, he could perhaps on behalf of your state or whoever handles that sort of thing on your side of the fence, because I do think there's a real possibility for that. It never really dawned on me until just now. But remember all those times you would have to go in and you'd have to do the VO for your book, your audio book. They would make you read it all. Or maybe you sat down with a video game and man, you'd spend days calling the same things over and over and over just so they could get all that on tape. But now through AI, they've got enough audio on you, years and years, decades worth at this point to pull from, that they could probably create that without you ever having to leave the house. So even when you're decided, hey, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore. I tap, I give, I'm just going to sit on the front porch and whittle. You can do that. That's pretty interesting to think about. It never even crossed my mind until just now.
No, me neither. Me neither. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. And I'll call Dawkins when I got all day to talk.
Oh, I love you, Jim. And I love Magic Spoon, and I know you will too. Listen, when we were all kids, we loved plopping down in front of the TV on Saturday morning with some cartoons, some Saturday morning wrestling, and a big bowl of cereal. But then as we get older, we realize, you know, I probably don't need all that sugar first thing in the morning. I need some protein. Well, every serving of Magic Spoon has 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and 4 grams of net carbs, so you can feel good about what you're eating. The most popular flavors are fruity and cocoa, and there's so many more. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are crispy, crunchy, airy, and it's an easy way to get 12 grams of protein on the go. And now for the first time ever, Magic Spoon treats are available in grocery stores with delicious flavors like marshmallow and chocolatey peanut butter. I can go ahead and give you a spoiler. The other 2 flavors are blueberry muffin, which is great, but my favorite is double chocolate, and I double dog dare you to try it. I guarantee you're going to love it. I just loaded up on a double order myself. I'm going to slide a box over to my dad so he can check it out. You're going to love it, man. It tastes great, and there's 12 grams of protein. They're individually wrapped. You can throw them in your briefcase. You can throw them in your glove box. You can throw them in your desk at work. It's going to keep you away from eating junk food when you probably shouldn't, and it doesn't get any more convenient, and you won't find anything that tastes better or with more protein. Go right now and get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/JR. Or look for Magic Spoon on Amazon or in your nearest grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/JR for $5 off Magic Spoon. Check it out. You'll be glad you did.
I saw it on the shelves at Publix here a while back.
Wow.
And I'm happy to see. Yeah, it's cool. I like that Fruity Pebbles spin-off.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my favorite. I got a pantry full of it. They sent me a hell of a stock, and what I find is it replaces my nighttime need psychologically for a dessert.
Yes.
And so I'm not eating a dessert, and these have no sugar.
Yes.
And for a guy that's diabetic too, the no sugar facet of this situation is very attractive.
It's a big deal. Go check it out. You're going to be glad you did. I know Jim just mentioned it's in grocery stores. I mentioned it's on Amazon, but it would really help our show if you would make your first order $5 off. It's going to be cheaper, and it's going to help us if you go right now to magicspoon.com/JR. You're going to be so glad you did, man. It is the real deal. Can't say enough nice things about Magic Spoon. And man, these treats, woo, something else. Try the double chocolate. Hey, let's do another one here. We've got a great question here from Lucas. He wants to know, when you first entered the business, were there any wrestlers you were a fan of as a viewer, but they were a pain in the keister to work with?
I always enjoyed watching Bob Sweetan be a heel because he believed he was a heel. He was physical, nasty, cheated to win at every turn in the road. But he was one of the worst human beings I've ever met in my 50 years in wrestling.
Wow.
Now, on the other hand of that, to show an opposite side, when I grew up, Danny Hodge was the star. Danny Hodge was that territory's Hogan or Austin or whomever. And so I met Danny Hodge, and my first trip from Tulsa, the headquarters, to Shreveport, where TV was being taped, I took Mr. Hodge in my car. I gave him a ride, in other words. And that was interesting. I'll tell that story someday. I want to wait till he's dead a little longer because he could come out of the grave and kill me. But he was one of my heroes. Mickey Mantle and Danny Hodge were my role models as a young fat kid athlete. So Hodge was the guy, and he never disappointed me. They say never meet your heroes.
Right.
That's not always true. It's not always true. It certainly was not true in this situation. Hodge is always a class act. So if you're ever near Perry, Oklahoma, anybody traveling on I-35 in Oklahoma, there's a beautiful statue of Hodge in a town square. The town is small. You won't get lost in traffic. Everybody knows where it is, but great photo opportunity. And when they unveiled it, I was there when they unveiled it. That's the respect I had for Danny. He's a super to me. He kept me from getting hurt. Sweetan would have hurt me in matches just because he could laugh about it. Clip your eye up in here. And when Hodge got wind that I was being abused and on a physical level, he got himself booked with Sweetan. And JR's abuse stopped at that point forevermore because Hodge stretched Sweetan to where it was almost getting sick. And that was the story there. That's an interesting story, I guess. But that's how it was. A Wild West show, man. It was the Wild West. There was no HR, no contracts. You got paid in cash every night. So it was tough. It was tough to earn your way. Anyway, Sweetan would be on my negative list. Hodge would be on my positive list.
Let's do one here from Aaron Sheen from down in Australia. He says, what was JR's response to the creative where they wanted Kane to set him on fire? As a kid, I will always remember just as it happened. My mom immediately turned the channel. She wouldn't let me watch it. Boy, of all the crazy out there ideas, let's set JR on fire. That's got to be one of the crazier ones.
Made no sense. I didn't mind doing it because they had a stunt double come in and they burned him. They just wanted me to scream, which I did. But I thought it was a waste of time. Because it was unrealistic. It was unbelievable. So while your moms are turning the channel because it's not appropriate for their kids to watch, you have a lot of other fans who are saying, why are they doing this? Because I was back on TV in a week or two. It wasn't even sold well. And that ain't my problem. I didn't book it. I did what I was told. And so I thought it was a waste of time, Conrad. It was not a good scene for me. I understand the logic. I do. It just was unbelievable logic, and that's not the best kind.
We got to do a question here from Patrick Ruth because, boy, this is a funny one. Maybe it wasn't so funny for you at the time, though. Which was worse, Al Snow versus Head. Or I'm sorry, Al Snow and Head versus Too Much. Or HBK and God versus the McMahons. I forget that there was once a time where Al Snow had the Mannequin Head as a tag team partner.
Yeah.
And who could ever forget that Shawn Michaels had God as a partner? These were pay-per-view matches, Jim. Which one of those was more challenging for you as a broadcaster?
Probably the Shawn Michaels and God tag team combination.
It's funny even for you to just say it. I don't know why it tickles me, but it does.
That probably was the one I would select. I mean, Al Snow and Head had a build-up. We kind of knew what to expect. We knew all about Head. And Al did a great job portraying his character. What are you laughing at?
Al Snow and Head had a build-up. We knew all about Head. There was a backstory with Head, by God. We knew.
Yeah, there was something there.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels and God, the invisible God, against the McMahons there was no build-up. And it was silly. How would you build it up anyway? Go to heaven and get God to do a pre-tape? You can look at every turn in the road there, Connie, and it didn't make any sense. But, we got through it somehow. I have never watched that back, so I don't know how the commentary was or not. It might have been ridiculous, silly or something. Who knows? But it was a little touchy.
My goodness. We got to do more of these. This is the most fun I've had in a while. This is so fun bouncing around topic to topic. Simon C has a great question for you, Jim. He wants to know, when you were in Mid-South, did you keep up with any other territories? If so, which and how? Were the magazines around back then keeping you abreast of what was going on in the other territories? Or, did you get television from other territories? How did you keep up with other territories if you were able to?
I did. I was a maniac as far as being a fan is concerned. I saw, when I lived in Tulsa, I would get all the Dallas television on my local cable, and I watched it every week because we generally did TV on, I think, Wednesdays for Mid-South. The Dallas TV with the Von Erichs, Freebirds, and all that stuff was on our cable system, and so I watched that every week. It was on Friday night and Saturday night, so I had nothing better to do. My wife at the time probably thought I did, but I didn't. I watched wrestling, and I'd see guys on there that I would interest me. And then when I was Cowboys driver, so he'd say, "Who'd you see this week that you like?" type things. When I moved to Atlanta, I camped out at Joe Pedicino and Bonnie Blackstone's Channel 69. No jokes aside, all jokes aside, Channel 69 for those two. And they had that wrestling block that was like 6 hours long or something. And it filled in the blanks. They also aired the Von Erichs, but they aired Memphis and Florida Championship Wrestling and all kinds of stuff like that. So I always found a way to better my game, knowing that somewhere down the line I wanted to be in administration. And in order to do that, I had to have plenty of product knowledge, which I was working on, and a familiarity with the talents who were out there looking for work. So yeah, I always found a way to watch wrestling.
And you're always looking to improve your game. Even this day, you're doing that. And with our help from Blue Chew, man, you're at your best. It's like a hot tag for your wiener. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. You'll sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door. And the best part is it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, so plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Blue Chew wants men rock hard. That's what they told me. That's the mission. They won't stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house, until every tent is pitched, until every rod is raised. Discover your options at bluechew.com. We've got a special deal for our audience. Check this out. Try Blue Chew free. Just pay the $5 shipping and checkout when you visit bluechew.com. That's bluechew.com to receive your first month free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring Grilling JR.
And if you ain't got $5, folks,
come on now.
Call Silva.
Yes.
And he'll take care of you.
That's it. Silva is known for helping guys nationwide get hard, and so is Blue Chew. They are the ultimate tag team partners. You know, you can't put it behind glass and break it in case of emergency, but you can go right now and get a great deal at bluechew.com. Come on, man. Try it. Just pay the $5 shipping. What's the downside, Jim? I don't see one.
I got buddies that say if it's free, it's for me.
I love that. Go check it out.
This is free. $5 shipping, folks. The best $5 for your personal life that you've ever acquired.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Hey, Steve's got a great question for us. He says, I was watching an early In Your House pay-per-view and your mic wasn't working. You sounded pretty pissed off. Was this a rib on you? Vince was actually doing play-by-play with you and the King on this episode I'm referring to. Was that a rib or was that storyline?
It was a rib from McMahon. Just out of the blue. So it's like nobody told me. Very disrespectful, I thought. And amateur-hourish. So, of course, Lawler went right along with it and laughed and like it was a great idea. And then after the show's over, he said, God damn, that must have been miserable. It was. So it was a rib from McMahon. That's just his sense of humor.
It's interesting to hear some of these Vince stories that, you know, he thought were funny, but maybe everybody didn't think was so funny. Do you remember there being a fun for everyone Vince McMahon rib? Or were they all sort of with a mean-spirited slant at different times?
I think they were all sort of the mean-spirited slant, Conrad. You know, I'm not looking for a shoulder to cry on, but there are a lot of times, you know, especially in my headset, where he would produce us. Then we'd go to commercial break and he'd chew me out. And the best chew outs I got were about Lawler. God damn it, JR, you got to get Lawler, pick it up. You got to get it. It's on you. It's on me. You got direct communication with him on your headset. How come it ain't on you? You're producing this shit. So, yeah, I'm glad I don't have to do those days. Tony Khan is wonderful.
Yeah.
He don't interrupt shit. He'll help you. He'll give you something. And you know where he wants to go by what you hear. But I'm not dependent on his feedback to do the broadcast. But his lines, he'll give me a line or a point of emphasis that he wants underscored. And I listen and I do it. So it's just different styles. Producers should be the greatest soundbite people ever. Get in, get out, help your talent, and get the fuck out of their way.
Well said. I love that. Francis Reyes is with us, and he says, did you ever get a chance to meet the other famous JR? Talking about JR Ewing from Dallas. Did you ever meet that character?
I met him one time, and I was astonished by his eyes. They were glassy, kind of cartoon eyes. It's kind of at the end of the day when you find out how sick he was, it was sad. But he wasn't impressed with me, and consequently, I lost my impression of him. But he was all right. He shook my hand, patted me on the back, and he said something along the lines of, so you're the JR I've been hearing all this about, whatever.
Where'd you meet him?
Dallas.
Were you like at an airport, or did he come to him at a show, or?
No,
football game?
I think it was at a like a signing.
Oh, I got you, like a Comic-Con type thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Of course, it was the real life Larry Hagman. That's who we're talking about. He
right.
portrayed the character JR Ewing on Dallas back in the day, which was a huge hit. Sadly, he passed away in November of 2012. So he's been gone for 12 years now. Can you believe that?
Hard to believe, right? I mean, he was a nice guy. He just had a line of people there to see him,
Right.
and I know how that feels. So we just had a very brief handshake, a couple of laughs, and I went back to my table, and he stayed at his. Pretty simple.
Man, you want to talk about a crazy idea I've never even considered. Jason has a great question here. If Magnum TA would have been able to wrestle into the mid to late 90s, how well would he have fit in during the Attitude Era? And how huge would a Magnum versus Austin feud have been? I don't even consider that as a possibility, but that is an excellent idea to think about. Like, what if? Because when you take a look, he's only 65 years old now. So 20 years ago, he would have been 45. He could have totally been a part of the Attitude Era. In an alternate universe, is there a dream opponent for that era of the WWE with Magnum TA? I mean, him and Undertaker, him and Mankind, him and Rock, him and Austin. What stands out for you as a dream match for Magnum TA in the WWE?
Probably Magnum and Austin. They're both hard hitting wrestlers. They weren't gimmick guys. That would have been a hell of a contest. I would have loved to call that. It's just sad that it didn't happen. And I see Terry Allen, aka Magnum TA. One of the reasons I get motivated about going to these shows, like WrestleCon this Saturday midday, is that I get to see guys like Magnum TA that I haven't seen in maybe until the last big autograph thing. It's just great to see all these people. But that would have been a match. Now, I'm not downgrading the other options that you mentioned. Foley, if Magnum was a solid baby face, which he would have been against Foley, I think. Foley would have more of an edge, if nothing else. Undertaker didn't care if he worked with a baby face or a heel. He had his match. He had down what he was going to do. I don't know who else you mentioned there, but it would have been a dream match. I mean, that would have been massive money. It might have topped the money that Magnum would have made with Hogan. So
It's interesting to think about that because it just feels like, no, that couldn't have happened. But age-wise, man, in an alternate universe, it totally could have happened.
yeah,
It would have been interesting to see him, and whether it was WCW or the WWE. It's one of those great what ifs.
Yep.
Let's do a deep cut here. Ants in My Eyes Jones, what a great name that is, says, do you have any good Boyd Pierce stories? Great to hear you at the desk for the main events again. I agree with that. We love hearing JR on the call, but Boyd Pierce, you got any good stories about Mr. Pierce?
he's a nice guy. He welcomed me with open arms, and I took his place on two fronts. I replaced Richard Bowden and started ring announcing, and Boyd was doing some ring announcing, so he was out of that. Then Cowboy made me his cohort in commentary, which was a big break for me, but not so much for Boyd because he got relegated to being the ring announcer. He never showed any angst or any animosity or jealousy or anything to me. Boyd had his suits made when a lot of us were going to, Macy's. And it don't take much to shop for a blue blazer. But old Boyd would have his suits made, real colorful and all that stuff. He did a thing in the locker room where he would bend his knees like in a football stance and start hunching like a dog, breeding another dog. He did it all the time. He'd throw his teeth out and do the dog raunch, whatever. I don't even call it. I've never seen it before or since. But Boyd loved that little impersonation, which was sick and terrible, but it was Boyd. He always had a handful of gimmicks, not gimmicks like drugs, gimmicks like pencils, calendars, all kinds of things like that, because he sold them. As that was part of his job, was selling products. Conrad, you had guys call on you, I'm sure, where you want to buy a calendar with your name on it and all your
Sure.
stores stuff,
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
sold all that stuff, and it was endless. But he was a nice man. He just was a little freaky. Nice man, and he had built a hell of a reputation in Texas as the preeminent ring announcer. So he did stuff for the Von Erichs and for I think he did stuff for Paul Bosch. So he stayed busy along with his traveling job. He could travel and just happened to be in the town where the wrestling was happening as a part of his route that week. So I enjoyed working with Boyd. He's funny and really good. Had a voice that cut through the clutter. That's imperative for an announcer, especially a ring announcer.
Yes.
You got to cut through the clutter, and he did.
James has a question. He says, "Hey, JR, I've always wanted to ask you this. During Triple H's 2002 return, there was a moment where you seemed to pause to find words. As tough as resilient, I was wondering, was there a time where Vince was in your ear trying to get you to emphasize a point?" I think that's probably a given that, you were always getting fed lines from
Yeah.
Vince, but when we're talking about Triple H's return, the pause is probably you just, I think the announcer term is laying out, right? You're letting the moment.
Absolutely. I wanted you at home to hear the ovation.
Yes.
That's what we worked. We worked for the pops, and there was a massive pop. Nothing I could have said, in my own opinion, would have embellished the organic pops that was ongoing. If you go back and listen, I did the same thing with John Cena when he returned to the Garden, Austin. All the big returns, I'd have a spot there where I'd lay out and just let you enjoy it. So that's all that was.
We got another one here from Wallace. I know you'll like this one. He wants to know, what are your thoughts on how Ernie Ladd would have done as an NWA world champion? Boy, that would have been breaking a lot of barriers. He would have been the first black champion. And I don't think the NWA had one. What do you think? Could Ernie have carried the load in that era?
If it happened when Ernie was younger, in his 20s or early 30s, I think he could have done it. However, if it happened after that, Ernie's knees were just hollow. I don't know how many knee surgeries he had, but he had double digits. He couldn't have stood up to the challenge of going on the road, flying every day. He couldn't have done what Flair did. Not with his. He might have been able to pull it off, but you got to remember he's 6'9", so any way he travels is going to be uncomfortable. And the champion traveled a lot by plane, and Ernie made it in the territories because he could travel by car and stretch out his legs. Cowboy bought him a Lincoln Continental, 4-door Lincoln Continental, so he could stretch out. Because he'd come to TV all stoved up and messed up. And that was the tail end of his working as a heel. He was working as a heel to help get JYD over, because they could cut a promo that was not anywhere near politically correct. And if it hadn't been two African Americans delivering the lines, I'm sure we'd have got our ass in trouble. So Ernie would have been, a young Ernie had a shot at it. Older Ernie, no shot at all.
We got another question here from Jake. He wants to know, if an average big card has 8 matches, how many gimmick matches should you have? Even if every gimmick is vastly different from others, can you have too many, Jim?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you want to protect the gimmick scenario, the gimmick situation, you don't have tons of them. On a pay-per-view card, you might have 2. I said might. So maybe 2 For me, if I was booking it, probably one. And that way it adds more to the gimmick match that's on the card, because there's not a lot of similarities. It's different. You know, it's a let me up, that type thing. So I believe that that's the way to go on that deal, because you want to protect every match on the card. And that's why you got to talk to your talents about what the main event's going to do. If the main event's getting blood, you don't want to get blood in match 2, 3, or 4, or 5, or whatever. You just don't. And a lot of guys think that, well, that's going to screw me up. Well, tough shit. Work harder, get in the main event. We ain't doing it.
I love that attitude.
Just go execute. And so that's how I'd book it. 8, and of course on AEW pay-per-views we have generally more than 8 matches, right, Conrad?
Oh man, I mean, there was so much wrestling the other night. I mean, it felt like, and that's one of the things you can always count on with AEW pay-per-view. They're going to overwhelm you with value. If you're looking for great wrestling, look no further than an AEW pay-per-view, because you're going to have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to great wrestling matches. I don't know how many there were the other night, but I mean, I know we've seen some AEW pay-per-views that had like 12 or 14 matches in a show.
It might be too many. It might be too many.
Well, perhaps. I mean, if you're looking to overdose on great wrestling, there it is. But sometimes you can't get enough of a good thing, like True Classic. They've got the best-selling t-shirts, hoodies, jeans, and more now in 3, 6, and even 9 packs. We're talking premium products at an affordable price. But what I really like is they've got shirts that define your best features with a perfect fit. We're talking snug in the arms and chest and just the right amount of room in the midsection. That's what we're all about as guys. We're looking for things that are comfortable, things that fit us well. And when things fit us well, we feel better about it and we want to wear it more often. And sometimes, well, we'll wear our favorites until they're threadbare. And well, the missus doesn't like that. But you'll never be looking for, oh, man, I wish I had another one of those. When you pick up a 3, 6, or a 9 pack from True Classics. And by the way, all the fall and winter must-haves, easy for me to say, they got you hooked up. Maybe you need a long sleeve Henley. Maybe you're looking for a waffle hoodie or some jeans or button-ups, joggers, and more. They've even got great active wear like moisture wicking, quick dry, and odor control products. True Classic can do it all. They even help you mix and match your clothing to fit and work with your lifestyle. And when we say True Classic, we mean it. If you're not looking to be super flamboyant or super flashy, something that is going to look good now, and even when you look back at pictures 30 years from now, it's going to look fantastic as long as you're going to True Classic. There's a 100% perfect fit guarantee. They've got easy returns, and they've been trusted by more than 4 million customers. They've even got over 200,000 reviews. The holidays are here, and True Classics ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials make the perfect gift for you and for the men in your life. So if you're ready to upgrade your closet, shop now and unlock big savings during our huge holiday sale. Just go to our exclusive link at trueclassic.com/JR. That's trueclassic.com/JR. Please support our show and tell them we sent you, and end the year with holiday cheer thanks to True Classic.
Well, I wore a True Classic t-shirts. Wore two classic t-shirts, True Classic t-shirts. I get it right. I see it on my screen. I'm just that last toke. Anyway, I wore their t-shirts last weekend in Newark. And man, what a great fit.
Yes.
They're comfortable. Somebody, I can't remember who it was in our dressing room when I was putting my shirt on. And they walked by and patted me on the back, and they felt the material, the True Classic material. And said, man, what are you wearing? That feels great. And True Classic. So it's got a great fit. They use really good fabric.
Yes.
Really good fabric. So check it out, folks. It's a cool thing, and buy 1 or 2 items.
Yeah.
See how you like it. That's easy, right? Buy a t-shirt for fuck's sake. And
I love you, Jim.
And have a good time. It's easy. Don't overthink this shit. We're wanting to sell you products because it's good for our sponsor. What's good for our sponsor is good for Conrad and JR. All truth, all above board, true statement. So go buy yourself a pack of T-shirts and see if we're not telling you the truth.
You're going to love it, man. I heard the same thing from Jeff Jarrett. He wore his True Classic on the road for AEW this past week. It's gotten to a point where Miss Karen helps him pack his bag. She knows he wants all of his TCs, as she calls it. Everybody loves the way they feel when they wear these products. You just got to try it. And I'm telling you, when you find something you like, if you're like me, man, you want to wear it all the time. Well, you don't have to worry about wearing it out. True Classic, what they do so well is they'll sell you these products in 3, 6, and 9 packs. And we've all, like the other day, my wife wore a pair of pants and I said, honey, you need those in every color. And when you feel that way, True Classic can hook you up. TrueClassic.com/JR. Go take a look. As my pal says, it costs nothing to look. Go right now. TrueClassic.com/JR.
Cost it not a dime. Looking's free.
Aaron has a great question for you. And I'm sure you've answered this 1,000 times, but I don't know the answer right off the top of my head. Jim, what's your favorite WrestleMania match that you've called? Because you've called them all, man.
Boy, that's a tough one because it's like saying which of your kids is your favorite. I got 2 lovely daughters. I'll see at Christmas time. We're going to have Christmas in Norman with my kids, which is going to be a first for a while because everybody's got it. Well, everybody's got it. They get older.
Yeah.
And they got an itinerary. They got friends. They got in-laws and all these things complicate the situation. So anyway, I got 2 great daughters, and I'm going to see them at Christmas time. So that's going to be cool. What was your question?
Your favorite WrestleMania?
Favorite WrestleMania match. Man, I have a hard time moving away from WrestleMania 13 and Austin and Brett because of all they accomplished in the match. Turning the most beloved babyface heel, turning the most hated heel babyface, was a tremendous accomplishment. Austin's blood was right amount, right time. Some of the visuals on TV were so memorable. So that would be one for sure, without a doubt. I had a kind of an obscure one. I can't remember who was involved in the damn thing, which sounds ridiculous for me to say, but it was a 60-minute match in England. I think it featured John Cena and maybe Shawn Michaels. You could have Bull look that up, but I think that's accurate. That was a phenomenal match. And it was UK only show, I think. I'm not sure, but I think. So maybe somebody out there's listening to us live could help us out there a little bit. We'll take your text, right, Conrad, your tweet or whatever the fuck.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, that was one that I would definitely put on my list. Undertaker and Shawn had one in Phoenix because the 3 of us drank a couple bottles of Jack Daniels, which I hate, after the match at their they had a area roped off, and Undertaker had his trailer or bus. Shawn had his bus, and they kind of made a little compound. We had a security guard standing outside that didn't let anybody in, and I had the greatest fellowship that I've probably ever had with 2 guys, Taker and Shawn. So, but Conrad, that question is hard to answer because I've been around so fucking long, and I called them all. And when I named some, and obviously you're going to leave some out, then don't take that as a sign I didn't like that match.
Right.
So but Austin and Brett always pop into my mind when that question is asked of me.
Me too.
Because of what they accomplished. They had a finish, Brett goes over, but what happened at the end? What did they process? What information did they process? Well, they changed roles, and they had a little color, and Brett leading the way, and Steve, the heel normally leads the match, but I would imagine that Steve interjected his stuff, but that he let Brett have the reins to the Sooner schooner. No pun intended.
Hey,
So
speaking of Sooner, here's a fun question from Matt Gentos. He says, during Halloween Havoc 89, Terry Funk tied up Sting with a rope, and JR called it a half hitch and a Huey.
Yeah.
Is that an old Oklahoma cowboy knot?
It's a rodeo knot. That's what they call when calf ropers catch the calf. And it's a timed event. They catch their back 2 feet, and then when they dismount the horse to go secure the calf, when they tie his feet up, that's what that's called. It's an old cowboy term. And if you know, when I was a kid growing up, my dad loved rodeos and stuff, and we went to a lot of in our area. That's what it was just universally used. So the half hitch and the Huey was a calf roping term, and it's real. See how much you learn here in this show?
You're learning a lot. I am. I know that. Here's one that, man, I think fans want there to be more there than what there really is, but I'll let you set the record straight. Stephanie Lopez wants to know, Jim, what are your true feelings on Michael Cole?
I like him. He's a good guy. He's a family man. I appreciate that. I respect that. I set in for him on a few projects while his wife was being treated. I can't remember what illness she has. I can't recall what, but she's a sweetheart. And I remember we had a little dancing thing after work one day, and he brought her, and I danced with her, believe it or not. And but she's a sweetheart. He worked so fucking hard. You know, the break that he got without me patting myself on the back and breaking my arm is he got the advantage of me producing him. Again, this is going to sound self-serving, as opposed to Vince. And so Vince would have killed him, because Vince sat by me when I was producing, and he wore my ass out. I can only imagine what he would do to Michael Cole in his early days, rookie year 1 and 2. He's in a whole new world, and he's following a tough act, if I don't say so myself. So, but I like the guy. He's got a great work ethic. He's carved himself out a great living. He's got some stroke there in WWE right now with announcers and stuff. So I'm proud of him. I'm glad he's doing well. So I really do like him. Genuinely and honestly, I think the world of him.
Jim, I got to be honest, of everybody I've met in wrestling, I don't think I've ever had an opportunity to spend any time with Michael Cole. So I don't know this, and I'm just asking you. I believe his wife's name is Yolanda.
Yeah.
And I think she had a kidney transplant. Does that sound right?
Yeah, something like that. It was a major deal.
Yeah.
It's a major deal. And but she's just a little sweetheart, and he was smart, man. He saved his money. He bought a nice home in South Texas, where her people are, to have somebody look after her while he was on the road. And he flies to Houston, and then I think down to the next, what's that stop south of there? Anyway, he's just on the golf course. So he's done well. And I'm proud of him. I really am. I'm really proud of him.
Yeah, shout out to Michael Cole, man. He was in the Steve Young position. I remember as a kid, man, Joe Montana was every guy in my school's like football hero.
Yeah.
And when it came time for the 49ers to make a different decision, they went with Steve Young. And Steve Young had the unenviable task of stepping into those really big shoes left behind by Joe Montana. Wasn't necessarily fair for Steve Young, but I know he felt like he had that monkey on his back until he won a Super Bowl of his own against the Chargers. And
exactly.
I mean, he was a different performer than Joe Montana, had a totally different style. And I think a lot of 49er fans, myself included, you know, we missed Joe Montana, but that's not to say that we didn't enjoy Steve Young.
Hell yeah.
I think a lot of people sort of feel the same way about Michael Cole. Like, he's probably doing a great job years ago, but we just missed you. And unfairly, people just assume, oh, there's got to be heat there, brother. But that wasn't the case ever, right?
No, not at all. Absolutely not. I worked my ass off to help him.
Sure.
All behind the scenes, you know, going over the shows, and you might say this about this guy or whatever. But when I produced him, I produced him in sound bites so he could get his rhythm and find a groove. And you can't find a groove if you're starting and stopping endlessly. So, but he's evolved into a hell of an announcer. He does a good job, and you can tell how good he is because everybody he works with, he makes better. And that's really a measuring stick as far as pro wrestling announcers are concerned. Whomever you're working with, make them better than they actually are. And you can do that with an advanced skill set. And he certainly has advanced his skill set since he's been flying solo in WWE. Does a great job.
Coach Keith Morrison is with us here live, and he wants to know, in honor of Thanksgiving, what was the best Thanksgiving card you ever called or watched? I remembered watching you and Tony Schiavone call Starrcade 1987 on closed circuit television. Once upon a time, that was a go-to for wrestling pay-per-views and special events. It was one of the biggest nights of the year. Is there one Thanksgiving card that stands out above all the others to you, Jim?
Boy, that's hard. I hate to not answer the coach's question. I need to do a little research on that. That card that he mentioned was a damn good one.
Yeah.
The Thanksgiving cards are always loaded. They're the culmination of a series of events, and you have blow-offs and cage matches and things of that nature. But I can't remember anything specifically. I can't remember a Thanksgiving card that wasn't good, quite frankly, because the boys all got up for it because it was Thanksgiving. They were on the road. Same thing for Christmas. Cowboy had a big Christmas show every year in the Dome. So, I was used to going on the road and eating Thanksgiving dinner with him. Funny story there. We stayed at the Hyatt, I think, downtown New Orleans, across from the Superdome. And we had Thanksgiving dinner together, Cowboy and I. And they had this, I wanted cornbread dressing. So I ordered, because it said on the menu, dressing. Well, it's got to be here in the South. It's got to be cornbread dressing.
That's right.
It was oyster dressing. You ever have oyster dressing, Connie?
I have, and it's respectfully not my favorite.
Me neither. I was very disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I got my nuts busted by Cowboy because I didn't like trying new things. I like trying mashed potatoes and gravy. I like pumpkin pie with as much Cool Whip as you can get on it. But boy, I like that, and I like dark meat turkey. God damn, but I can't eat that. That dressing was just, I wasn't ready for it. Let's put it that way. I'm sure it was good. It was a staple down there in Louisiana, but it wasn't my thing. So, but anyway, we always had good cards on the holidays. The way you book makes those cards more desirable to buy a ticket for. And the way you book is you book to where when it comes time for Christmas Day, you either have a debut, a big debut, or you have a long-awaited title match or a blow-off of some kind. Cowboy was smart enough to shoot angles on Christmas, or excuse me, on Thanksgiving, that would take us to Christmas. A continuation of a program. So but I don't remember ever having a bad card. I remember having bad dressing. So sorry.
No, listen, I like when you can share that with us. Let's do another question from a member of our live studio audience. You can be a member of our live studio audience when you join us at adfreeshows.com. Mustadon has an interesting question. He says, Jim, what are your thoughts on the Costco guys and those kind of celebrities getting involved in wrestling? Is it good or bad, and why? This was heavily debated last week. You've seen the results now with the benefit of hindsight. What do you think? Is that a good thing to involve these level celebrities who can court some social media attention?
No, it's not. It's a good thing. It don't hurt nothing.
Yeah.
The purists, they want them back in wool tights and holding on to the tag rope, which I do adhere to. That kind of thing. They're not going to like it. You can't make them like it. but it gives you a little bit of, it gives you another ring in the circus. And whether they're not going to be the center ring, but they're going to be under the big top, so to speak. So those kids that worked on Saturday in Newark, they're on the pre-show. So how much viewership did they get? I'm sure they
Right.
got. I'm sure they got some. So I'm for those things. I think WWE has done a good job over the years of using celebrities. You know, we've done that here in AEW. Mike Tyson, Shaq. So we've done it before, not quite to the extreme that we did it Saturday.
Now,
With the voice of Costco.
I just took a look at the YouTube for the 0 hour, and it looks like they've got 390,000 views for the pre-show. Not too bad. And neither is our friends at Mando. Got a quick question for you. Do your balls stink? Well, if they do, boy, can we help you out. The whole body deodorant from Mando is the real deal, and it's safe to use anywhere on your body. JR's using it on his pits. JR's using it on his balls, his thigh folds, his belly buttons, his butt cracks, and his feet. He smells better naked. That's what all the ladies are saying down at Jacksonville Beach. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was just being misdiagnosed and mistreated. But Mando has been clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Mando has a bunch of different options too. What about the solid stick deodorant? It's been formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it even starts. They've even got spray deodorant that's aluminum free and ideal for those hard to reach places. All their products are baking soda free and paraben free, and you can choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Pro Sport, and even Mount Fuji. Not Mr. Fuji. There's no rib here. Mando has been clinically proven to control odor better than just a shower with soap alone. You see, 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor is about a 5 out of 10. But with Mando, that odor level is a 0 out of 10. And Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes. And you even get free shipping. And right now is a special offer for our listeners. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That's like 40% off your starter pack when you use the code JR at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
If you got smelly balls, you should be ashamed of yourself. If you have the opportunity to get Mando. I've been using it for several weeks now. I love it. And I haven't smelled any stank on me at all. As a matter of fact, I've been told that I don't stank at all. So it's all good, man. Yeah, look, how hard do you have to think about eliminating body odor?
I can't imagine.
I mean, come on, for God's sakes. And $5 off your starter pack, that's pretty economical.
No doubt.
And when you start, you'll see how it works, and you got yourself a hell of a good deal. So check it out. Use the code JR, shopmando.com. I guarantee you it works like a champion.
Use that promo code JR at shopmando.com. Matt has a question. He says, Jim, what's your go-to steak? How are you preparing it? And what are 2 sides you'd like to have with that steak?
I like my steak charred medium. The best place I've been that cooks it that way, because it's not easy, is Gibson's in Chicago. The one downtown is the last one I went to. But they got one out by the airport as well. And so charred medium is my preference. I got to have some kind of potato, whether it be Lyonnaise potatoes or a great big old baked potato loaded. But I got to have a spud. And I generally like broccoli, steamed broccoli or asparagus, but I prefer the broccoli. That would be my perfect meal for something like that. A bone-in ribeye or a bone-in filet, even better, with grilled onions and then the potato, whatever the potato I'm in the mood for, and then the broccoli. I'm done. I'm good, and a couple of crowns.
There you go. Hard to beat. And I know that Gibson's in the Shadow of Chicago is one of your favorites. We've got Brandon here, and he wants to know what's the best moment in professional wrestling you had to call during your tenure with WWE at the time and currently with AEW. You know, it's probably too deep of a question to ask you that on the WWE side, but of all the things you've called in AEW, is there one call that you're particularly proud of that you look back and you think, hey, that was a great moment, and I was at my best on that one?
Yeah, and WWE too. I won't leave them out because they're a big part of my legacy.
Of course.
Probably WrestleMania. When did Lawler and I go in the Hall of Fame? That's WrestleMania what?
Let me look at that.
Yeah, it's in Detroit. That one is a special one because the night before we had the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Then Sunday we did the show. I think it was the Battle of the Billionaires, the hair thing with Vince.
Oh, yeah. That was WrestleMania 23, I believe.
Yeah, you're right. So that was that. It was such a huge weekend. And when I had the time and I could stop and really think through what was going on, what was happening. I didn't realize at the time that it was set up for me to get out the door.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize that at the time. You know, Todd Grisham was going to be my replacement, and a good guy. He's built a good career for himself in MMA, but he was going to be my replacement come the fall. Somehow or another, as wrestling goes, it leaked out, and I was told that was the plan, and you know, finish up strong and all that bullshit. You know, boola boola, boomer sooner, all that. And I just, for whatever reason, they changed their mind. My work was strong. I didn't have the look and the physique that they sought, and I sounded Southern. So fucking what? So what? It made me sound different. I think that's one of the things. I don't know, Conrad, you can tell me better than I can explain it. I think me setting in for a couple of matches on the AEW pay-per-views is good for the show because it gives you a different sound to process as a fan. That's all.
I totally agree. You know, I felt like from the beginning of AEW that, you know, it was one of those deals where just having you involved made it feel like it had that big fight feel. It felt like a main event. It felt bigger. And one of my favorite calls you've had in AEW is the debut of Jon Moxley. When Jon Moxley jumps out there and we hear something like the sound and the fury or whatever you said, man, it was just a fantastic call.
The match that strikes me, that was a moment. Him coming out of the crowd and all that stuff, Moxley being he, throw down boy, was the Rhodes Boys, Dustin versus Cody. I love that match. And I'll say it today, all these months and weeks and years later, that was the best match I ever called in AEW to date. So, and there have been a lot of good ones, but that match had the unique emotional element that you couldn't get in just an angle or a storyline. They're real brothers, and they had told a great story leading into it. And then, man, they delivered like champions in the match itself. So I'll always be grateful for those two guys, for Cody and Dustin, for having the match. And then I feel very blessed that I was a part of the broadcast team. That match just had so much emotion, natural emotion, stuff you can't replicate, stuff you can't manufacture. It was real. And so that match stands out head and shoulders above just about anything else I've done.
We'll end on a high note here. Clueless Trent wants to know, you've probably been asked this before, but who had the idea for you to start selling barbecue sauce?
My mother and my wife. my late mother, Elizabeth Ann Ross, and my little bride, Jan. They made it because I was a barbecue freak. So they'd make homemade sauce and play with it, tweak it, and stuff like that. So I had the idea that to try to market it, and we're still in the process of building a business at jrsbarbecue.com. And we always do good business this time of the year because our products are, number one, good, and they're great stocking stuffers or little inexpensive gifts for the wrestling fan in your family, little things to put under the tree or what have you. So Mom and Jan were the catalyst of that, and that's why I work so hard at promoting it. It's kind of in their image. If that makes any sense. So and business is good right now. It's really good. We're filling orders every day. Every day we have orders go out. So we'll do our best to get your order to you before the holidays. That's for sure. And we do a pretty good job of that. So check us out there. There's something for everybody. A lot of signed stuff if you're into that. Action figures signed, books signed, et cetera, et cetera. And then Stephen Link always puts together some nice packages and some discounts and some sales at jrsbbq.com.
Check it out. You'll be glad you did. My man, Stephen Link, he's actually got something posted on the website right now and just in time for the Black Friday holiday. He says, we've got a garage sale with autographed books for sale. These were found in our warehouse and they're either slightly damaged, misspelled autographs, torn pages, etc. They're all autographed by JR and complete books. Buy one and see which one you get. Check out this new deal. Buy one or more of JR's cocktail tumblers, and JR is going to give you a free 12-ounce seasoning for each. That's a hell of a deal. You're talking 4 12-ounce seasoning. That's valued at $48. Where else are you getting $50 in world-class seasoning for buying 4 great tumblers for your booze or your warm drinks? Spend $20 on anything in the store and add a free hot barbecue or Chipotle ketchup to your cart. Buy any 3 sauces and get one free by adding your choice to your cart. Too much? Well, buy one and get one half off the same way. There's no limit on uses for either offer. Use them together. The point is that you save money. Thank you. JR's looking out for you. It's a great deal for the wrestling fan in your life. As he said, it's a great stocking stuffer. If you've got a wrestling fan in your life, I'm going to encourage you to buy more than one. I know that a lot of times when people buy some of JR sauces or seasonings, they want to throw it on a shelf with their JR action figure or their book and display it as a collectible. That's great. But why don't you buy a second one to enjoy, one to display, one to try. And if you're looking for a great all-purpose seasoning, I can't recommend it enough. It's my favorite product JR has. I've said it for years and years. I'm a day one advocate, and I dare you, I double dog dare you to try it. I've heard people put it on their popcorn. I've heard people put it on their eggs. It's fantastic on all protein. It works on fish. It works on pork chops. It works on beef. What are you waiting for? Go try it. And man, you want to talk about chicken? Come on, get you some right now at jrsbbq.com. Jim, this was a fun episode, man. I like these Ask JR Anythings. This was a good time.
I had a good time. Yeah, I had a good time. And by the way, if you're going to make chili after, like turkey chili, healthy chili with leftover turkey, the hot barbecue sauce is great, a great accompaniment, great seasoning. So is the Chipotle ketchup. The Chipotle ketchup will just liven up a meatloaf. So there's a lot of practical uses for those 2 products that we have running specials on. So check them out. As Conrad always makes fun of me, saying it costs nothing to look. So
I'm not making fun. I'm stealing it. I love it. I think it's a great JRism.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, but I had fun today.
I did too, man.
Good questions. They're timely. I don't mind answering them. Some of them I've answered before, obviously, but it was a fun show. And we should do this once every 4 to 6 weeks, I think.
Hey, let's make it a regular part of what we're doing, and we hope you'll make us a regular part of your routine. If you haven't already, go hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications bell at grillingjr.com. That's your home for all things JR. That's grillingjr.com. We've got a lot of really fun podcasts scheduled on the docket for December. We hope you guys have a fantastic Thanksgiving. It's one of my favorite holidays. It's like Fat Guy Christmas. I love it so much. And speaking of Christmas, it's going to be here before you know it. We're going to talk about Christian Cage in December. We're going to be talking about Starrcade 1989, the tournament year. What a great show that was. We'll be talking about Armageddon 99, and then we'll close out the year with JR is hired again. You know, there were some stops and starts through the years with the WWE, but we're going to pick up where we left off from this great story. Jim, you've got a story like nobody else, and I can't thank you enough for spending all the time with us that you did this year. You know, this is the day of the year where everybody says what they're thankful for. I personally am thankful for you, Mr. Ross. We appreciate the commitment to this show and all the time we get to spend together. You're like everybody's favorite wrestling uncle, and it means a lot to us that you make time to do this each week. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Conrad. You're too kind. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else but doing this. It's like the Harbaugh say, who's got it better than us?
Yeah.
Nobody. So
nobody.
I'm blessed, and I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tell a friend about us, recruit, and get some commits. So, Conrad, thank you. Great show today. I had fun, enjoyed it. We can do this anytime you want to do it. I love it.
I do too, man. If you can't get enough JR, go check out adfreeshows.com. We've got more bonus episodes than you can shake a stick at, and there's still time for you to sign up for that annual membership. Become an annual Top Guy. You'll get 2 months free. It's part of our Black Friday promotion. And before you know it, Top Guy Rumble's going to be here. You get to book your own show. You get to be the booker. You get to set the entire match card up. You're going to decide who's a heel, who's a babyface. Are we doing singles? Are we doing a battle royal? Are we doing tags? You get to wear your booker hat, and then you get to be a performer. Do you want to be a manager? Would you like to do color? Would you like to do play-by-play? Would you like to be a special guest referee? Would you like to take a bump? Well, Al Snow's going to be there. You're going to get to put on your gear, and you're going to get to step between the ropes. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and by God, Jim Ross is going to be there. You should be too. It's adfreeshows.com. We hope you guys have a great and safe and happy holiday Thanksgiving. And if you are going to be enjoying some drinks, yes, we want to shield for Z-Biotics, but hey, man, get a ride. Don't drink and drive. It's not worth it. And we're thankful that you're going to be back with us next week right here on Grilling JR with the voice of wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy it for the reasons that it is created, to be with family. Love your family. Give them a hug. Tell Granny and Mom that you love them, and the missus. Don't be stupid. That's like losing. You know, I was talking earlier about your sticky ass balls. Ain't got no reason to have stinky ass balls.
Not a one.
Nando. We got some great sponsors.
We got some great sponsors. We got some great listeners, and I can't believe this is a real thing. But Jim, Boomer Sooner. We'll see y'all next week right here on Grilling JR.
Thanks, Scotty.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.